Alright, suckers. I'm gonna plug this bad boy in. If I had it in the right way. Oh, I guess I did. Oh, I'm filled with so much joy right now. Okay. God's been telling me to do this for a while. These are all my files from the story that I wrote based on the dream that I had in 2009. And those are the last times I modified them back in 2017. So I gotta find the chapter for you guys that I didn't have printed out. I went to about 120 pages. That's what I had printed out. After that, I moved up here, and it took me several months to be able to work on it again because I had to focus on graduating and getting a job in a jobless market. So I stopped for a while, and I started working again in like the middle to the end of 2010 through 2011. So I gotta find the chapter. Okay, I found it. Wow. It's chapter 22. This was called the A21 compound. So at this point, this is after they get out of San Francisco. They were not able to save their friend. She got trapped there and she has to find her own way, and her story's pretty interesting. But so they get out and there's this attack on the bridge and they don't know who did it. Nobody's really admitting it. And it's just rumors of wars and stuff. They sleep in the forest in the truck and they're driving. They see, what is this? As I turned off the empty freeway into the forest, I was directed by various traffic instructors towards the school. I spoke with frustration. Dwight, what do I do? He was unsure, a concern on his face. I don't know. I suppose we will have to check this out. And basically the city of Eugene is sealed off by the government. They get questioned where they're coming from, if there's anyone else with them, all this, and they get pulled out of their vehicles by military police. And they catch him with a Glock 18, which is illegal for citizens. Basically, a lot of guns at this time are illegal. That's like the gist that I was kind of getting with this dream. So that's how I wrote it down, is that there wasn't much defense. And so he's already in trouble for that. There's a point where she's saying, I was unsure whether it would be safer outside the safe zone, because it just doesn't feel right, the way that they're being pushed around. And he says, basically like Han Solo, I have a bad feeling about this. The entire time we had been guided along by some calling. Something had been leading us through this entire journey, and now something was obviously warning him about this outpost. Maybe it was just his hatred for the authority. This guy's a previous military member, and they kind of did him wrong. You don't trust them, do you? I whispered across the air. He couldn't take his eyes off the sergeant and said, something's not right. I don't feel good here at all. And so they get taken into this facility called Outpost 381 at the community college. And they're calling this disease that everybody is getting A21. And yes, I understand now that that is like a adult film website, like a public, like a company for it, but that was not my intention. It had to do with Agenda 21. And obviously I wasn't copying COVID-19 because this was last updated in 2017. So kiss my butt. So they get let in at first on foot, like kind of casually, but then they get to this inside this tent area and they have to be decontaminated. And these people sporting masks, bandanas, and scarves, every face being hidden away by cloth. I suppose it was a relatively well-faring group, just following basic precautions. I wrote this in, like, this section I wrote in, like, 2010. I started it in '09 from that dream, and, like the file even says the last time it was updated was 2017, and that just, like, God is so amazing that, like, I still have all of this, and that's why he told me to save all of this. And I feel like I hadn't warned enough people. Like, so much time has passed and I hadn't told enough people, so, like, I'm doing it because he's pushing me to do it. I feel like it's in my soul, like, this is part of what I have to do, like, this is part of my mission. And I've been pushed to do it for 14 years, and I haven't told enough people, so I'm doing this now. Forgive me, it's immature, you know, it's like, it's a story, you know, written by a 17-year-old, okay? So it's not the best, but it was written about the dreams and the visions that I had, particularly this one, and then I just kind of incorporated a couple others that felt really prophetic. So they get brought to this location where they have to do a decontamination. We were led out of the open air and into the stuffy, airtight building with pressurized doors of thick glass and various metals. The feeling of claustrophobia came over me as we were led downstairs underground. Once we leveled out, we were walked into another white and blue room with pressurized doors, stripped of all cloth and locked within the windowless room together. It was hard not to look at Dwight in this condition. Yet he respected my privacy by turning his head away from. Like, even her head was clogging with the chemical haze. At the fork, they were being separated, shoved in different directions. And so he started to say, you have to get out of here. And when they get separated, they, like, kind of try to fight their way out. At the fork, I was pulled away from him and shoved into the other direction, despite his objections that were clear and loud into the air, until I was pulled around the corner with one last frightening glance into each other's eyes. Then I was thrown into a confined room with a bunk. Basically, how surreal the situation is, she, like, wants to faint. And then, like, the chemical poisoning, like, her damp hair clung to her face and lips with an unforgettably foul taste similar to bleach. All I could do now was curl into a fetal position, wonder why in the hell we willingly trapped ourselves here. So they tried to escape many times, and any time that, like, He tries to fight his way out. They actually come in and sedate him, and he's trying to like get up, but he can't. They wind up doing the same thing to her because she tries to escape multiple times, and so they wind up actually having to sedate her to get her to stop. The only thing this felt like was like a concentration camp. It was like World War II, like in a more advanced way. I didn't know how to explain it, but it felt like every feeling that you could ever think of something like that. And so that's what I tried to convey in this. So I studied a little bit about World War II to try and see if how I could possibly execute this other than what God had shown me in the dream. Like how exactly this could happen. So this guy named Harbor, who's a doctor, is saying, shut them up, shut them both up before they put the whole sector on alert. He snarled like a wolverine before one of the soldiers in the hall gladly obeyed his order to unlock Dwight's door and attempted to quiet him until a scuffle occurred and more men moved upon him. Obviously, I was 17 years old, so I didn't have the best sentence structure. Forgive me. I was just writing down a dream as well as I could. By this time, the drugs had taken to their course of slowing me, yet his horrifying cries shocked my nerves. I guess I missed the section right up here where they sedated her, strapped me to the gurney, hopelessness weighing on my heart, and they made her a human voodoo doll with 2 syringes, and one was to sedate her, and she doesn't know what the other one is. And so the guy, Harbor, he says, shut him up. He's like, now, do you see how this is done? I, at the time, of course, did not understand what he was talking about. She's drugged. He spoke, you know, I do not want to sedate you like this. Don't you agree that it would be so much simpler? His gloved finger caressed my tears. Easier, if you would cooperate? His soothing words tempted me at this point. Knowing nothing else to do, I nodded weakly, relaxing a tad bit as he smiled at me like a child. Good, he snickered. He then explained his plans for mandatory testing on my blood, saliva, spinal fluid, semen, and all other sorts of bodily fluid, which I could hardly make out. There was nothing but the familiar warmth of the drug and a strange sensation of the touch of God. It was as if my own mother were lulling me to sleep. The light produced the hallucination of a holy being reaching out to me slowly, grabbing hold of my center and then attempting to rip my soul from my physical shell. I kept clinging to what I could of reality, yet I knew the strength of darkness would overcome me, as it does with all of mankind. Sleep was, once again, inevitable, despite all the pain I felt in my heart. And he wakes up and he tries to get to her, but he can't. And this keeps occurring again and again. I don't remember how many days I put them in here, to be honest with you. I don't know if it was just a few days or if it was 2 weeks. I kind of felt like it was 2 weeks, but I don't remember. I'd have to actually read through this, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. And this is at one point when she gets questioned by a doctor and they're going to put her back in the room and she's like, you seriously think you're going to take me back in there? Do you seriously think you could escape from me with all these guards on duty? So I put in the story one of her old friends that was in the beginning of the story who got shipped out in the military because there were deployments because of all these things going on. So he got shipped out. She didn't know where he went, and he wound up coming here, and she sees him here, and he winds up actually losing his life, but he saves them, helps them get out of here. What I saw in my dream is I tried to escape 3 times. I couldn't escape. The 3rd time, I went and hid in like this janitor closet, and I had to pray. I didn't know if I put on a disguise or if the prayer put on a disguise, but it's like I prayed and I was like disguised and I was able to get out. And so that's what I had them do. Like they prayed a little bit, but they put on this disguise for both of them trying to get out. And they're able to, but they get caught at the very tail end. They escape. They're able to go into the trees, and then they have like flashlights that are coming after them. And these like drone ball things. Once I saw one of the men with flashlights fixed toward our direction, it was hard not to be afraid and to stop myself from making noise. The way I tried to explain it is like I had them get out and then a family like takes them in for a second. But then they wind up getting caught at this house. They get questioned and asked like if there were people that they saw, and they said no, and they checked enough footage and were able to figure out that yes, they saw them and they took them in. And then so they invade their house. And these people get dragged out of the house, and luckily they're able to get away. But the owners of the house that let them in, they're being tortured for information, like in the backyard. They have to like run, and these like UFO kind of drone balls come after them, and they're like, what the heck is happening? Because they don't realize like this is government technology, and like they're chasing us, but it's like it seems like UFO like unreal. And yeah, that's about all I have to share with you guys, to be honest with you on that. But yeah, that's it. I have a lot more to the story. I fixed it up a few different times. I had a volume 2 that I got about like halfway through. But again, because of what happened with COVID, it's been really difficult to try and get any of this out there or done. I used to bring this up to writers groups, and a lot of them, even a lot of my friends, even ones that are writers, they were very supportive of this. Very supportive of this 10, 14 years ago when I first started it. 100% on board. And the minute that COVID happened, I tried to share this with them again and go like, hey, what am I supposed to do? Because this is like way too similar. What do I do? And basically all of these people, almost every one of them has told me that I'm going to mislead people, confuse people. I can't publish anything like this. People will hate me forever. They will never believe anything I say. I don't care because I have proof here, and I have proof in my printed documents saying that they're from 2009. I know what I did. I know what I saw. I know my dream. And I know what I wrote down. I know what God showed me, what God told me, what the angel told me in this dream. And there's no denying it. I've been telling people, I've been crying about it for years. Family, personal family. I've embarrassed myself talking about it for years. And then the minute COVID happened, everybody forgot. Just kind of kicked it to the wayside the second I brought it up. They're like, you can't publish this. You can't publish this. It's like, why the not? Why? Because it's controversial? It's about a dream. And when I tried to tell him, like, look, I had this dream and I swear it was God telling me this would happen. Don't get this shot. Like, don't do this stuff because it's gonna turn into like World War III and like a really like they're gonna like ID us and like really push stuff on us because that's what I saw. And anytime I told people this, they used to believe it. But the minute COVID happened, everybody pushed against it and thought I was just like a Trumper. Are you serious? I never even voted for him once. And so yeah, I still have this story, but it's been difficult to try and get volume 1 and volume 2 out there because basically nobody wants to touch it except for major conspiracy theorists, which I'm not completely against, but I'm not a QAnon member. Okay, I'm not trying to cause a problem with this. Basically anybody else who used to stand by this, who used to be like, this is going to be like a big budget movie, like you stupid crap, like trying to like build you up to try and get your project so that they can make profit off of it. All of those people disappeared. They didn't just disappear. Like they used to believe that maybe it was possibly like because I'd cry about this, like, dude, it feels like it's gonna happen. Like felt like it was so real. And I told people this. When COVID happened and the propaganda started, a lot of people just really some people went like, yeah, maybe it is a dream from God. It might actually be. And they did take heed. But almost everybody has told me that I can't publish this. And I don't care. I don't care whether or not I do or not. I mean, I'm trying to. I'm trying to get this story out because it's been in my soul for a long time. But it's just that I used to be a pushover and I used to not want to offend anybody. But now I'm at the point where it's like, I don't care. I'm literally doing what God has shown me. And you can kiss my butt if you don't like it or don't believe it because I know my truth. I know what I did. I know what He told me to do, and I'm doing it. And I don't care what anybody else has to say about it. I love you all anyway, and that's why I do it. I know I'm going to get flack for this. I've been made fun of for the last 3 years. I don't care. I'm not here to say what's going to happen with this. I'm not here to say that this was COVID-19 and that this isn't some sort of like Agenda 2030, that there's not something else they're going to do here, okay? I'm not here to say what this is. I'm just here to say what I saw, what I wrote down, what He told me to write down, how He told me to tell people, let people know, and guard it and protect it and voice it from the top of the mountain, and that I would be teased, I would get in trouble, I would be censored. And every single one of those things has happened. And I feel like I haven't blasted it enough. I feel like I'm not here doing this for me. I don't want freaking attention. I don't even put my name on this site. I even wrote it under a pseudonym because I don't want people to know who I am. I'm not here trying to push this out. But I also know that when God gives you something that you have to do, He's like telling you for this long to do something, like the entire 14 years. I'm not just talking the last 3 years, the entire 14 years. He's telling you to do something that long. I'm not putting it off anymore. I'm not wasting any more time. I'm doing what He's telling me to do. If it pays off, that's between Him and I. But you take it and you do whatever you need to do with it. You take it to Him, you ask, and you will see what He wants you to see from it. I'm just one person. I can't say I'm perfect. I can't say I'm special. All I can say is this is what I saw. This is what I wrote down. This is what I was told in my soul to do. And so I'm doing it, whether it bothers anybody or not. I love you guys. Good luck.